Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Tampa Bay. I am your host, Bryan Burns, and joined, as always, by my wonderful co-host, Molly Barbieri.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back.
And we're really excited today to have the Senior Curator of Florida and Marine Life at ZooTampa at Lowry Park, Molly Lippincott. Molly, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
There's not a lot going on over at the zoo these days, is there?
Nothing's going on. Just kidding. We have tons of things that are going on. It's been a very busy few years, actually.
So a little background. Our Molly went out to a hard hat tour that you had at ZooTampa at Lowry Park for the Manatee Critical Care Center that's being rehabilitated, and it's going to open in spring of 2026. There's a lot of excitement geared around this. She came back with a lot of great notes about all the cool things that are happening. And we wanted to bring you in just to kind of talk to our listeners, talk to our viewers about what that's going to look like and how that's really going to expand what the zoo is able to do.
Yeah, we're really excited. It's been many years in the making and really was time for a makeover. So we are wrapping up construction. We're kind of in those final stages where things are actually starting to look like a real building. And we're all getting very excited. We're at the stage now we're going to actually be getting our new animals in. And so it's just a really nice way to revamp an area that people love. People love coming to sit underneath and watch the manatees. And now it's going to be in a whole new space that's been made over.
So what's different? What's different from what the old space was to what visitors to the zoo could expect to see when they come in the spring?
Yeah, so when we went to do renovations on the building, we needed to keep our manatee program going at the same time. And so we had to renovate the space and keep our main wall where the manatees live going. And so it was very challenging to do that, but we were successful. And so other than that wall, everything else was completely demolished to the ground, and we built from the ground up. We have now a new reef tank, which will have fish basically from like the Florida Keys area. We'll have moon jellies, which is brand new for the zoo. We've never had jellies. We're very excited for that, as well as a brackish water tank, which kind of has that above water and below water viewing. And then we have a brand new otter habitat. People love the otters, and it's much better viewing, much more guest friendly, as well as our team will be able to interact with those otters a little bit better and do more training. So I think that's going to be really exciting as well.
So I know from talking to you, Molly, when you came back from the hard hat tour, one of the things that really stood out to you was kind of the viewing areas of where you can see the manatees, where you're like kind of below them now and you can see them more in their natural habitat than just being kind of above them and looking down on them.
Well, it's nice because when I was taking the hard hat tour, we went down in kind of that new space that's also event space, and they have the windows to see inside of the water that the manatees are in. But then when you go to the space that kind of already exists, you can see like the top of it. And I kind of had that connection of like, oh, we got like an inside view of the water below. And I think that was just very eye-opening. And you could kind of see the manatees swimming around and like what they were like. And yeah, it was just very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think people love the manatees and don't realize that we're a hospital. They don't realize all the animals we have all been or in their rehab stages, all various stages. And so it's very cool to be able to watch them down below. You know, obviously people can go out and see manatees in the wild, but there is something really special about getting to see them at our facility where you do get that more up close and personal. And we can also tell you their story, why they were rescued and what we've done to hopefully rehab them and get them back out to the wild.
So someone going to the zoo, would they be able to see kind of manatees as they go through this rehabilitation process? So they might see a manatee that's just come in and has been damaged, and kind of the efforts that you guys are doing to get that manatee, nurse it back to health and get it to a point where you can release it back into the wild.
Yeah, we love being transparent at the zoo. We want people to know the work we do. We want them to feel connected to those animals, to our stories. And so, yeah, you can come and you can see them above water. You can see our critical care pools. We have our 3 previous ones, so they've been there for 30 years, and you're able to see those and see the work we're doing. You can watch us do treatments, as well as we have 2 new critical care pools that are also visible to guests. And then also you'll be able to see if we're bringing in an animal, again, you can see us doing that work from the boardwalk. And so that's new as well, where you can see better viewing. And then you can also see them once they move up to our, what we call our recovery pools. Those are the main pools where you're going to have more animals. and the underwater viewing. And so again, transparent. We want people to feel connected because it's part of our mission. We want people to help rescue manatees, and we need your help to do that.
How many manatees would you have at the zoo at one time?
It depends. We've had as many as 28, which was our record last year. I think
during construction also, like that's
correct.
Wild.
Yeah, winter tends to be our busiest time of year. But we usually anywhere between 15 to 20. But we again up to 28 at one point last year, which was pretty insane for us. Right now we have 18. We've gotten even 2 this last week. So we're going into our busy season where they are coming into the springs as it gets cold, and that's when they kind of show up sometimes with injuries or they're sick from being out, maybe not getting enough food through the summer, and they have to make those decisions of who should get rescued and bring them in.
And so then how do you get the manatees? Like how do you there's a manatee that's injured out in the wild. How does that manatee come to you?
Yeah, what is that process?
So we work with FWC, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. They have a hotline that you can call, and if you feel like you see an injured, sick, or orphaned manatee, they have 5 field stations in the state of Florida, 2 on the West Coast and 3 on the East Coast. And so they work to go out and check out the animals, see if an animal needs to be rescued, and they put together a rescue operation. We have a team that can help with that as well. So we have a rescue team. They'll go out with our truck and help with rescues. They did that just yesterday, where they'll go out and help pull that animal if they feel like it needs to get brought in, and then transport it to our facility. There's only 2 critical care facilities in the state of Florida right now, which is us and SeaWorld. So we're busy. It's a good thing, bad thing, right? We want people to, we always say no manatees would be ideal, but that's just not the case. And we do think there's more awareness that people maybe understand that they need to get rescued or might need help. So they'll investigate cases, and depending on the severity is when they're going to decide if they should come in.
The manatee that you got yesterday, where was that?
So we got an animal from Crystal River. It was an orphaned calf. Just was skinny, should have been with mom, about 160 pounds. So not quite a baby, but probably maybe like 6 months old. And that animal wasn't going to survive going into winter already being thin, and his temperature was really low. So their normal temperature is 98 degrees like ours. He came in at 80. So that kind of tells you didn't have enough fat reserves to keep him nice and toasty. Obviously manatees are nice and chubby, or they should be. And if they are not getting what they need from mom, they're not going to be able to survive. And so he will come and get some R&R with us.
And so you said you bring a truck up there. Like, how do you get the manatee from the water into the truck? Like, what is that whole process like?
So FWC has a special rescue boat that the transom actually comes off the back of the boat. The engine's up in the front. And that allows them basically to set a huge net, and then they pull and cinch. They catch it kind of in a bag and then pull it up onto the back of the boat. Takes a lot of people depending on the size. This animal was small, a little easier, but sometimes they're over 1,000 pounds and they fight you when they're getting rescued. But they have a great team that has done this for many years, and will get those animals. I always find it amazing, actually, that they're able to rescue as many as they can. You think about how much water's out there and finding those animals. And then we have a truck that is basically like an old, picture a U-Haul truck, but it's been retrofitted. That's the idea behind it. It has a generator with heat and air conditioning. We put them on foam, keep them comfortable with either keeping their skin moist or putting a blanket on them if it's cold. They can be out of the water for an extended period of time.
Okay, so there's no water in the truck?
Nope, they don't have to be in water. So, which really makes them great candidates for rehab because they're quote unquote easier to transport than like a dolphin or something. They can tolerate quite a bit. And so they can, for the most part, they just lay there when they're sick, and then we just want to get them to the zoo as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So you've rehabbed about like a little over 600 manatees since you've opened. So when you get these manatees, what does the care process look like? How do you kind of curate a plan for each manatee? Because I mean, they're all different, so they have different needs.
We work with our vet team. We have a wonderful vet team as well as our rehab team. And when the animal arrives, we're going to take blood. They're going to listen to the heart. We're going to do an assessment of the animal, take measurements, get a weight, and then usually give antibiotics right away. And then depending on what blood work says is how we'll kind of base our treatment. I've seen over, probably 400 or 500 animals since I've worked at the zoo. I've been there a long time. And so you definitely kind of know, we're going to probably expect this from this animal.
Yeah.
With an animal that's really cold, we want to get them into warm water, get them nice and toasty, get their body temp up, give them fluids. So an animal, when they come in, for the most part, all get fluids. We use a nasogastric tube, put that into their nair, down into their stomach. We don't do an IV because IVs would take us hours and hours, and then we'd never get them what they need. So in order to get them the fluids they need, we're talking like liters of fluids.
Wow.
So to get them hydrated, we can also do nutrition. If it's a calf, we can give formula that way. We can give like a romaine slurry. We can give medications through the tube as well. And most animals get tubed at least twice a day, maybe 3 times, depending on the size of the animal. And then we're going to recheck blood. And then also the other goal is to get them to eat. So we feed a lot. They eat about 8 hours of the day. The manatees are the most expensive animal at the zoo. It costs over $500,000 just to feed them every year. It's a very expensive program, but we
a lot
love
of lettuce.
it.
I was just about to say that.
It's
a lot.
I mean, right now, I don't know. I think we're probably feeding close to 2,000 pounds a day.
Wow.
And
Oh
it's
my
restaurant
goodness.
quality. So we
It's a
want
big
it to
grocery bill.
be the best of the best for those animals. We want them to eat and get healthy. That's like the number one way they get better is just like you and me. R&R, they need that recovery time. And then we want them to be wild. So we don't interact with the animals other than those medical treatments. So we put them with other animals to be social and basically learn how to be a manatee again. We always have somebody at the hospital, so there's always somebody that will say, hey, can we pair them with so-and-so to help them feel better? And then it really takes months. It takes a long time to get them better. Sometimes a few months, sometimes a couple of years. It really depends on each case.
Where are you getting the lettuce? Like, how do you get that much lettuce a day?
Like, is
We have a
Publix
produce-
hooking you up?
We have a produce company, CK's Produce, that has been our provider for many years. They're wonderful. They come every day and deliver. Again, it has to be restaurant quality. And we measure by the case. So we actually weigh a case, and depending on the size of the animal, they eat about 15 to 17% of their body weight with us every day. In the wild,
Every
they're going to eat
day?
more like 10%, but we want them to all get nice and fat before they get released back.
Right.
So we feed them really well at the zoo.
I don't blame them for eating that much because even after a salad, I'm still hungry.
I know people are always amazed, how do you gain that much weight when you're eating that just lettuce? I'm like, well, if you eat enough lettuce.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where if you go and you'll be able to see them eating underwater, there's nothing really cuter than watching a manatee hold
Oh, it's
lettuce
adorable.
and
Their
munch
little,
on it.
snout and just kind of them. Yeah, it's just kind of going up and down, and their little arms are right here. It's
Yeah, they
so
have a
cute.
prehensile lip like an elephant's trunk. That's their closest living relative, actually, is an
Really?
elephant. They have marching molars like an elephant as well. In the very back of their mouth, they have teeth that rotate through, and they'll go through thousands of teeth in their lifetime because they grind down their food, and they end up eating a lot more like sand and stuff in the wild, obviously, as they're eating seagrasses. But yeah, there's really nothing cuter. And honestly, if you come really early in the morning and it's quiet in the tunnel where you can see them underwater, you can hear them, and they'll be crunching, and you can hear them squeak. They have vocalizations. A lot of people don't realize that. And it's super cute.
So I feel like that's a really good inside tip.
It is.
Do you have any more of those behind the scenes tips that you can give our listeners?
Be there at 9
a lot of
a.m.
people will come to the zoo and they'll look in a habitat and be like, I don't see anything. I'm like, I guarantee you there are animals in there, but you need to take a look and find them. The panthers, they're in there. You just have to take a look. I mean, sometimes I'm like, where are they? I know you're out here.
Right.
And they're stalking you. And so definitely take your time, and definitely don't be afraid to ask one of the team members, like, hey, I didn't see this animal. Is it out today? Or can you give me some tips on where to find that animal? Because that's what we want. We want you to have a good time. We don't want people to just look and be like, I don't see anything. We want you to enjoy it. We do a lot of chats, as well as we have signature encounters, we have behind the scenes tours. So we really want people to really, again, feel that transparency, learn from our staff. We really want people to walk away being like, I just love the zoo and want to keep coming back.
Yeah.
There's always something new happening, like you said.
Yeah.
New things, new animals, the Florida area is a rehab area. So we have the otters coming in to were rehab animals. And so we continue to tell those stories and hopefully have people care about the environment and care about where they live.
Mm-hmm.
So the revamping of the Manatee Critical Care Center, that's just like one part of this Florida Waters expansion. That's like this big, large expansion that's the largest in the zoo's history since it's been in existence. So what maybe is different about the Florida Waters, or what is part of that experience that's not just the Manatee Critical Care Center?
Yeah, I think it's telling the story of where the manatee lives. We really wanted to bring people into that whole story. That's where, again, how to live with wildlife. That's our big mission of how can you live in an area where there's bears, and how can you live in an area where there are manatees, and how can you do that safely, because we know people aren't going away. And so part of that story is sharing all the different environments that you can see in Florida, which is Florida waters. And so that's the freshwater with river otters, that's going into the saltwater with the Florida Keys species. And so it's telling that full picture. I think before it was a little more just, oh, look at these animals. But that's not really what it's about anymore. We really want people to understand how much care goes into taking care of these animals, how much we care about each individual critter, their welfare, all of those things. So much has changed in the zoo field since I've been in it. The level of care is absolutely incredible. The amount that people put in their heart, blood, sweat, and tears is pretty infectious. And people always ask, how are you still there? I'm like, because it's always evolving. Yeah. We want to be the best. ZooTampa has really worked hard to put our name on the map, and that we want people to, again, come and hear those different stories and tell their friends about it and keep coming back and tell their kids and different generations. So many people grew up in Tampa.
Yeah.
As Lowry Park, and I hear about that when I'm wearing my shirt, to go to the grocery store. And I think it's neat when people are like, oh, I remember when it was like this, but it's still great and it's still growing, and it's neat to have all of that.
Yeah, I feel like rehabbing the manatees is also a very rewarding job. Like, it can just be very like wholesome and kind of humbling too, just to kind of see the, situations that they can be in. I don't know. I feel like that's really awesome. Did you always want to do something with manatees, or more in just kind of like the general marine life?
I knew I wanted to work with marine mammals. That was my ultimate goal. I did an internship with dolphins at one point, and I honestly didn't really know anything about manatees till I moved to Tampa and then worked at the zoo. And then I started helping the rehab team when I first started at the zoo, and then moved to that department and fell in love with it. It is very rewarding. It's very hard. Long days, but many long nights. I've spent many nights at the zoo and bottle raising babies and all of that. But the team, I think, is really what keeps me coming back. The people at the zoo, the staff, how much they put into it. We have a lot of laughs and enjoy what we do. I don't think there's ever been a day where I'm like, I don't want to go to work. It's not like, sure, I would like to be home and sleeping. I mean, who wouldn't? But I've never been like, ugh, I have to go to work. It's not like that.
Yeah.
So definitely very rewarding. I think the fact that zoo's very supportive of the program, that really helps, that it's invested in, we've expanded, we keep continuing to grow, we keep evolving, I think has really helped us all continue to grow as people and stay there as well.
When you take so much time to rehabilitate the manatee, do you get to see, like, once you release it out into the wild, do you get to kind of keep track of that manatee and see how it's doing when it goes back out?
Yeah, it depends on the case. I've definitely released quite a few in my time. We really only track naive animals, so orphaned calves who are rescued. So we bottle raise a baby, and then eventually, once they're 600 pounds, which takes a couple of years, those animals are tracked, and they'll usually follow them for a year. And so we'll hear about how they're doing. We always figure no news is good news, though. For the most part, they're not tracked, and they're just released, and we maybe never hear from them again. And that's okay. That's what we want, They are given microchips. So if they're ever found again, re-rescued, or if they are found deceased, we'll know their story and
like
hear
that
about
medical
them.
History kind of too.
Yeah. And we do have some repeat customers every once in a while. But it's rare. Most of them have been successful.
I imagine that's got to be very bittersweet to release a manatee back into the wild, because obviously that's your goal. That's what you want to do. But you've spent so much time with this animal that, you're letting it go.
I think there's something so incredibly rewarding, and it brings such a satisfaction to see them get released back, that I don't know if I've ever really been sad necessarily. I think it's just like, oh, I'm so happy that we were able to save this animal's life.
Yeah, it's kind of like a success story in a way.
Yeah. We also get to build relationships with all of our other species that we have that are residents at the zoo. So like we have a panther that's been there since I've been there, and she's 18 and a half years old. So I have an amazing connection with that animal. So I get to have that relationship. And so with the manatees, we're hands off. So we get to know them from afar, is how I would describe it. And I think that helps with some of that when you're releasing them, that, it's like, I just got to see this little baby grow up and be a manatee, and then hopefully go out and make more little baby manatees in the future.
Yeah. So you get to learn about the manatees kind of from afar, because you're not like fully hands-on, because you want them to be wild, but do you get to learn a little bit about their personalities? I know you guys have like a really cool naming system too. Like I got to meet Venti and Cappuccino when I went on the hard hat tour. That was very awesome. I loved those names. That was great.
We definitely get to know them. They, when they come in, they tend not to have their personality yet because we don't know who they're going to be. And so we do usually name them after where they're rescued from or what they came in for to help us remember. It has to be a completely unique name. And there have been thousands of manatees either that have been rescued and or like that they've studied in the wild that they've given names to. So it's tricky to come up with new names. We do get to try to be creative and have fun with it. I don't remember exactly how we came to Venti, but I know our vet at the time was like, Cappuccino. Oh, we're like, oh my God, that's so cute. There's one that I always remember. She came in for red tide, and we named her Little Red Tiding Hood.
Oh.
So we've had some really cute, unique names. And we, there's ones when you're like looking through the list, so you're like, oh, I remember that animal. Berkey is one that comes to mind. He came in on Thanksgiving and it was cold, and he was cold. So Berkey. And
those are marketing gurus over there.
Yeah, no, like for real.
Yeah. And so we haven't named the newest one. It takes us usually a little bit of time, unless for some reason we have an epiphany, which does happen. But it's a team effort. As far as like what do we like and what's a good name for that animal, and a part of and maybe if we also see their personality as well, that's helpful. So, and there's also been the ones that haven't made it that we've named, and it does help us remember their stories. And we like to tell those stories too. Of we had this really tough case, and we weren't able to save this animal, but here's why, and here's what happened, and hopefully we can continue to save more.
Yeah, use it as like an education story and just kind of spread awareness with a bit more.
Yeah, I mean we can't save them all. Sometimes the watercraft injuries are so severe that we can't do anything about those internal injuries, which is really unfortunate. And hopefully with time and the vet world getting better and better, but really we just need prevention of getting those animals not hit in the first place. And so that's really what we also try to educate about, is how to, again, live with wildlife, how to boat safely, and that you can appreciate the manatee in their wild space. And you can be out there and so can they.
Yeah. So what can boaters do to kind of protect the manatees? Obviously, there's the no-wake zones, but like what else can they do to try to make sure that none are getting hit?
Yeah, they have done a lot of research over the years to have those no-wake zones. So they know where manatees live, especially going into winter where they're going to go into those warm water locations. And so those are areas in particular that you're supposed to slow down your boat. Manatees don't move very fast. 5 miles an hour is their top speed, really. They're millers. They are going to stay in the same area and eat seagrasses. They don't have great eyesight. So they just need an opportunity to move away. Most of the time, if they, hear loud noises, they're going to go to the bottom. Yeah. Also, wearing polarized sunglasses is another thing you can do and just be able to see them. You can have a spotter on your boat, especially if you're going into a manatee area. And so those are just a few small, tiny tips, right? That you can, again, be safe and hopefully protect those animals.
So Florida waters, this big expansion, spring 2026, that's when visitors to the zoo can expect to experience this new exhibit?
Yeah, we're wrapping up, like I said, construction now and putting the final touches, getting those animals acclimated to their new space, and then we'll be ready to open. We will have our, again, new fish species as well as river otters, and then we're opening our reptile amphibian discovery center hopefully around the same time as well.
Yeah. I know, I can't wait.
I'm excited.
You're excited too.
Yeah.
I know that.
I've been excited.
Yeah, I think guests are going to be excited. One, because we've had a dead end for almost 2 years where people have had to turn around and have been incredibly understanding. We weren't sure how guests were going to handle that. But I think once they found out we were doing something really new and exciting, they're like, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. So that alone, where you get to, go from one side to the other really easily. And then it's an air-conditioned space. So that'll be really nice in the summer. Yes. And then it's an event space as well. So people can book different events and for underwater viewing as well. So that's pretty neat.
Very cool.
New for the zoo.
Yeah. Molly, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Please keep us up to date on anything new that's happening and we can continue to get the word out. All right. And that's another episode of Unlocking Tampa Bay. Join us next time as we unlock more treasures around Tampa Bay.